Come on. There we go. Just some more scuff again. I don't know what's going on with OBS. I don't know why OBS decides to keep ignoring my microphone. It's just going to have to be something else I check before I start streaming. Anyway, as I was saying before I realised nobody could hear anything. Hello everybody, welcome on in. I hope you're all having a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night wherever you're on the world. I hope you're all taking care of yourselves. Thank you very much for joining us today. Rolf, thank you very much for first, and thank you for your daily check-in. Sakura, thank you very much for your daily check-in as well. Draken, nicely done getting second, and thank you very much for your daily check-in as well. Oh, okay. So we're going to be doing a bit more story time. We're nearly halfway through Good Omens. So yeah, we've got a bit more, but we're making some good progress. I'm still enjoying it. But yeah, we'll see how we do. See where we get to today. I think where we got to last time was a cruise ship had just discovered the lost city of Atlantis. I love this book. It's so good. Anyway, but yes, I hope you all come in. I hope you all enjoy yourselves. Just relax, take it nice and easy. Hopefully not too many of you fall asleep. Ah dear. But yes. Anyway, I think we'll just get straight on into it. So, it jolly well isn't. It jolly well is. It isn't, you know. It jolly well is. It isn't. All right then. What about volcanoes? Wensleydale sat back, a look of triumph on his face. What about 'em? Said Adam. All that lava comes up from the centre of the earth, where it's all hot, said Wensleydale. I saw a programme. It had David Attenborough, so it's true. The other them looked at Adam. It was like watching a tennis match. The hollow earth theory was not going over well in the quarry. A beguiling idea that had stood up to the probings of such remarkable thinkers as Cyrus Reed Tweed, Bulwer Lytton, and Adolf Hitler was bending dangerously in the wind of Wensleydale's searingly bespectacled logic. I didn't say it was hollow all the way through, said Adam. No one said it was hollow all the way through. It probably goes down miles and miles to make room for all the lava and oil and coal and Tibetan tunnels and such like. But then it's hollow after that. That's what people think. And there's a hole at the North Pole to let the air in. Never seen it on Atlas, sniffed Wensleydale. The government won't let them put it on a map in case people go and have a look in, said Adam. The reason being, the people living inside don't want people looking down on them all the time. What do you mean Tibetan tunnels? Said Pepper. You said Tibetan tunnels. Ah, didn't I tell you about them? Three heads shook. It's amazing. You know Tibet? They nodded doubtfully. A series of images had risen in their minds. Yaks, Mount Everest, people called Grasshopper, little old men sitting on mountains, other people learning kung fu in ancient temples, and snow. Well, you know all those teachers that left Atlantis when it sunk? They nodded again. Well, some of them went to Tibet, and now they run the world. Zen, welcome on in. Thank you very much for the daily check-in. Thank you for the hydrate as well. I'll take care of that now, hang on. I hope you're having a good day, Zen. I appreciate you joining us. Lovely. Thank you for that. Thank you, Zen. I appreciate the hydrate. They're called the Secret Masters, on account of being teachers, I suppose. And they've got this secret underground city called Shambhala, and tunnels that go all over the world, so they know everything that goes on and control everything. Some people reckon that they really live under the Gobi Desert, he added loftily, but most competent authorities reckon it's Tibet alright. Better for the tunneling anyway. Still haven't heard back from any of the places I applied to. Other than that, doing kind of okay. Well, Zen, I've got my fingers crossed. I hope they come back to you soon. I was going to say, wishing you all the best, Zen. But yes, keep us updated. We want you to. We're all very keen for you to succeed. So yes, good luck, Zen. Good luck. Them instinctively looked down at the grubby, dirt-covered chalk beneath their feet. How come they know everything? Said Pepper. They must have to listen, right? As did Adam. They just have to sit in their tunnels and listen. You know what hearing teachers have? They can hear a whisper right across the room. Oh no, Zen, you're not dead. Zen, come back to us. Come back to us, Zen. Oh dear. My granny used to put a glass against the wall, said Brian. She said it was disgusting the way she could hear everything that went on next door. All these tunnels go everywhere, do they? Said Pepper, still staring at the ground. All over the world, said Adam firmly. Must have took a long time, said Pepper doubtfully. You remember when we tried digging that tunnel out in the field? We were at it all afternoon, and you had to scrunch up to get all in. Yes, but they've been doing it for millions of years. You can do really good tunnels if you've got millions of years. Hey T, how's it going? Welcome on in, welcome on in. It is reading time. We are back doing reading a bit more Good Omens, so yes. Can we just cause an economic upheaval yet? Just go back to barter or some crap. Zen, are you hoping for a Fallout Star Society sometime soon? Oh dear. But yes, T, I hope you're doing okay. I'm glad to see you again. I hope you've had a good day so far. And yeah, hopefully we don't put you to sleep too quickly. Can't be any worse than what we got now. I don't know. Some of those ghouls can be a bit mighty frightening, so and I wouldn't want to come up against a Deathclaw, I'll tell you that much. I thought the Tibetans were conquered by the Chinese and the Dalai Lama had to go to India, said Wensleydale, but without much conviction. Wensleydale read his father's newspaper every evening, but the prosaic everydayness of the world always seemed to melt under the powerhouse of Adam's explanations. I bet they're down there now, said Adam, ignoring this. They'd be all over the place by now, sitting underground and listening. They looked at one another. If we ducked down quickly, said Brian. Pepper, who was a lot quicker on the uptake, groaned. What did you have to go and say that for? Said Adam. Fat lot of good us trying to surprise them now, isn't it, with you shouting out something like that? I was just thinking we could dig down, and you just have to go and warn them. I don't think they'd dig all those tunnels, said Wensleydale doggedly. It doesn't make any sense. Tibet's hundreds of miles away. Oh yes, and I suppose you know more about it than Madame Blavatsky? Sniffed Adam. My day was good, but my headache is a clean little thing. Oh no, T, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope it goes away quickly. I hope you're able to have a nice relaxing rest of your day. How's my day? Oh, it's been alright. It's been okay. We had a busy day at work today. Unfortunately we were in the office today, so we had to drive in. It's a long journey into the office today, but it was fine. We made it back home. We're now safe and sound. We're all cozy, wrapped up, and just relaxing. And as I said, we're just going to carry on with Good Omens. So. Now, if I was a Tibetan, said Wensleydale in a reasonable tone of voice, I'd just dig straight down to the hollow bit in the middle and then run around the inside and dig straight up where I wanted to be. They gave this due consideration. "You've got to admit that's more sensible than tunnels," said Pepper. "Yes, well, I expect that's what they do," said Adam. "They'd be bound to afford us something as simple as that." Brian stared dreamily at the sky, while his finger probed the contents of one ear. "Funny, really," he said. "You spend your whole life going to school and learning stuff, and they never tell you about stuff like the Bermuda Triangle and UFOs and all these old masters running around the inside of the Earth. Why do we have to learn boring stuff when there's all this brilliant stuff we could be learning? That's what I want to know." There was a chorus of agreement. Then they went out and played Charles Fort and the Atlanteans versus the ancient masters of Tibet, but the Tibetans claimed that using mystic ancient lasers was cheating. Stepping away from my laptop real quick. Hey, no problems then. I appreciate you being here. Sheagle, welcome on in, welcome on in. I hope you're having a good day. Thank you for joining us. We are just reading a bit more of Good Omens today, just relaxing. We're nice and comfy and cozy. So yeah, I hope you're having a good day. And I hope everything's going okay. There was a time when witch-finders were respected, although it didn't last very long. Matthew Hopkins, for example, the witch-finder general, found witches all over the east of England in the middle of the 17th century, charging each town and village 9 pence a witch for every one he discovered. That was the trouble. Witch-finders didn't get paid by the hour. Any witch-finder who spent a week examining the local crones and then told the mayor, "Well done, not a pointy hat among the lot of them," would get fulsome thanks, a bowl of soup, and a meaningful goodbye. So in order to turn a profit, Hopkins had to find a remarkable number of witches. This made him more than a little unpopular with the village councils, and he was himself hanged as a witch by an East Anglian village who had sensibly realised that they could cut their overheads by eliminating the middleman. Lurking and working, listening to my lovely voice. I hope you have a lovely stream. Sheagle, I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much for lurking. It's lovely to have you here. Yeah, I hope I can take some of the stress away from your day. It is thought by many that Hopkins was the last witch-finder general. In this they would, strictly speaking, be correct. Possibly not in the way they imagine, however. The witch-finder army marched on, just slightly more quietly. There is no longer a real witch-finder general, nor is there a witch-finder colonel, a witch-finder major, or witch-finder captain, or even a witch-finder lieutenant. The last one was killed falling out of a very tall tree in Caterham in 1933 while attempting to get a better view of something he believed was a satanic orgy, the most degenerate persuasion, but was, in fact, the Caterham and Whitelydale Market Traders Association annual dinner and dance. There is, however, a witchfinder sergeant. There is also now a witchfinder private. His name is Newton Pulsifer. It was the advertisement that got him in the Gazette, between a fridge for sale and a litter of not exactly Dalmatians. Quote, "Join the professionals. Part-time assistant required to combat the forces of darkness. Uniform, basic training provided. Field promotion certain. Be a man." In his lunch hour, he phoned the number at the bottom of the ad. A woman answered. "Hello," he began tentatively. "I saw your advert." "Which one, love?" The one in the paper." "Right, love. Well, Madam Tracy draws aside the veil every afternoon except Thursdays. Parties welcome. When would you be wanting to explore the mysteries, love?" Newton hesitated. "The advert says join the professionals," he said. "It didn't mention Madam Tracy." "Ah, that'll be Mr. Shadwell you'll be wanting then. Just a sec, I'll see if he's in." Later, when he was on nodding terms with Madam Tracy, Newt learned that if he had mentioned the other ad, the one in the magazine, Madam Tracy would have been available for strict discipline and intimate massage every evening except Thursday. There was yet another ad in a phone box somewhere when Much later, Newt asked her what this one involved. She said Thursdays. Eventually, there was the sound of feet in uncarpeted hallways, deep coughing, and a voice the colour of an old raincoat rumbled. I read your advert. Join the professionals. I wanted to know a bit more about that. There's many as would like to know more about it, and there's many. The voice trailed off impressively, then crashed back to full volume. There's many as wouldn't. Oh, squeaked Newton. What's your name, lad? Newton Pulsifer. Lucifer? What's that you say? Are ye of the spawn of darkness, a tempting beguiling creature? From the pit, wanton limbs steaming from the flesh pot of Hades, in tortured and lubricious thrall to your Stygian and hellish masters? That's Pulsifer, explained Newton, with a P. I don't know about the other stuff, but we come from Surrey. The voice on the phone sounded vaguely disappointed. Oh. Aye, well then, Pulsifer. I've seen that name before, maybe. I don't know, said Newton. My uncle runs a toy shop in Hounslow, he added, in case this was any help. Is that so? Said Shadwell. Mr. Shadwell's accent was unplaceable. It careered around Britain like a milk race. Here a mad Welsh drill sergeant, there a high Kirk elder who'd just seen someone doing something on a Sunday. Somewhere between them, a dour Daleland shepherd or bitter Somerset miser. It didn't matter where the accent went, it didn't get any nicer. Have you all your own teeth? Oh yes, except for fillings. Are ye fit? I suppose so, Newt stuttered. I mean, that was why I wanted to join the Territorials. Brian Potter in accounting can bench press almost 100 since he joined, and he paraded in front of the Queen Mother. How many nipples? Pardon? Nipples, laddie, nipples, said the voice testily. How many nipples has she got? 2. Good. Have you got your own scissors? What? Scissors. Scissors, are you deaf? No. Yes, I mean, I've got some scissors. I'm not deaf. The cocoa had nearly all solidified. Green fur was growing on the inside of the mug. There was a thin layer of dust on Aziraphale too. The stack of notes was building up beside him. The nice and accurate prophecies was a mass of alfresco bookmarks made of torn strips of the Daily Telegraph. Aziraphale stirred and pinched his nose. He was nearly there. He'd got the shape of it. He'd never met Agnes. She was too bright, obviously. Normally heaven or hell spotted the prophetic types and broadcast enough noises on the same mental channel to prevent any undue accuracy. Actually, that was rarely necessary. They normally found ways of generating their own static in self-defense against the images that echoed around their heads. Poor old St. John had his mushrooms, for example. Mother Shipton had her ale. Nostradamus had his collection of interesting oriental preparations. St. Malachi had his still. Good old Malachi. He'd been a nice old boy. Sitting there, dreaming about future popes. Complete piss artist, of course. Could have been a real thinker if it hadn't been for the poteen. A sad end. Sometimes you really had to hope that the ineffable plan had been properly thought out. Thought. There was something he had to do. Oh yes, phone his contact. Get things sorted out. He stood up, stretched his limbs, and made a phone call. Then he thought, why not? Worth a try. He went back and shuffled through his sheaf of notes. Agnes really had been good, and clever. No one was interested in accurate prophecies. Paper in hand, he phoned directory inquiries. Hello? Good afternoon. So kind. Yes. This will be a Tadfield number, I think. Or Lower Tadfield. Ah, or possibly Norton? I'm not sure of the precise code. Yes, Young. Name of Young. Sorry, no initial. Oh, well, can you give me all of them? Thank you. Back on the table, a pencil picked itself up and scribbled furiously. At the third name, it broke its point. Ah, said Aziraphale, his mouth suddenly running on automatic while his mind exploded. I think that's the one. Thank you. So kind. Good day to you. He hung up almost reverently, took a few deep breaths, and dialed again. The last 3 digits gave him some trouble because his hand was shaking. He listened to the ringing tone, then a voice answered. It was a middle-aged voice, not unfriendly, but probably it had been having a nap and was not feeling at its best. It said, Tadfield, 666. Aziraphale's hand started to shake. Hello? Said the receiver. Hello? Aziraphale got a grip of himself. Sorry, he said. Right number. He replaced the receiver. Newt wasn't deaf, and he did have his own scissors. He also had a huge pile of newspapers. If he had known that army life consisted chiefly of applying the one to the other, he used to muse, he would never have joined. Witchfinder Sergeant Shadwell had made him a list which was taped to the wall in Shadwell's tiny, crowded flat situated over a Heat's newspaper and video rental. The list read, Number 1, Witches. Number 2, Unexplainable Phenomenons. Phenomenometrics, Phenomenies, things you can well know what I mean. Hey Goldie, welcome on in. I hope you're having a good day. Thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate you being here. We are just relaxing, taking it nice and easy today. We're halfway through the week. It's only right that we take a little bit of time and just enjoy ourselves, relax, take a deep breath, and yeah. So we are just reading a bit more Good Omens. But yeah, I hope you've had a good day, Goldie. I appreciate you being here. Newt was looking for Ivor. He sighed and picked up another newspaper, scanned the front page, opened it, ignored page 2, never anything on there. Then blushed crimson as he performed the obligatory nipple check count on page 3. Shadwell had been insistent about this. You can't trust them, the cunning buggers, he said. It'd be just like them to come right out in the open, like defying us. Hi, day has been alright. Currently counting coppers and putting them in money bags. Nothing wrong with that, Goldie. Gotta count the little things. It all adds up. Hope you're doing well as well. I'm doing very well, thank you. We had a busy day at work today, but we are home now, we are wrapped up, we are just enjoying ourselves, and we're relaxing, so yes. A couple in black turtleneck sweaters glowered at the camera on page 9. They claimed to lead the largest coven in Saffron Walden, and to restore sexual potency by the use of small and very phallic dolls. The newspaper was offering 10 of the dolls to readers who were prepared to write my most embarrassing moment of impotency stories. Newt cut the story out and stuck it into a scrapbook. There was a muffled thumping on the door. Newt opened it. A pile of newspapers stood there. Shift yourself, Private Pulsifer, it barked, and it shuffled into the room. The newspapers fell to the floor, revealing Witchfinder Sergeant Shadwell, who coughed painfully and relit his cigarette, which had gone out. You want to watch them? He's one of them, he said. Who is, sir? Take your ease, Private. Him, that little brown fella, Mr. So-called Rahit. It's them terrible foreignists. The ruby squinty eye of the little yellow guard. Women with too many arms, witches the lot of them. He does give us the newspapers free. He does give us the newspapers free, though, Sergeant, said Newt. And they're not too old. And voodoo. I bet he does voodoo. Sacrificing chickens to that Baron Saturday. You know, tall darky bugger in the top hat. Brings people back from the dead, eh? and makes them work on the Sabbath day. Voodoo, Shadwell sniffed speculatively. Newt tried to picture Shadwell's landlord as an exponent of voodoo. Certainly Mr. Heat worked on the Sabbath. In fact, with his plump, quiet wife and plump, cheerful children, he worked around the clock, never mind the calendar, diligently filling the area's needs in the matter of soft drinks, white bread, tobacco, sweets, newspapers, magazines, and the type of top-shelf pornography that made Newt's eyes water just to think about. The worst you could imagine Mr. Heat doing with a chicken was selling it after the sell-by date. Nothing wrong, but this is one big tin. I'm already 40 minutes into it, and now having a break because brain is mush. Oh no, Goldie, I'm sorry to hear that. Like I said, I hope it doesn't take too long to count it all. Well, please let us know please let us know what the grand total is when you're done. I would love to find out. I'm very curious now. But Mr. Heat's from Bangladesh or India or somewhere, he said. I thought voodoo come from the West Indies. Ah, said Witchfinder Sergeant Shadwell, and took another drag on his cigarette. Or appeared to. Newt had never actually quite seen one of his superior's cigarettes. It was something to do with the way he cupped his hands. He even made the ends disappear when he'd finished with them. Ah. Well, doesn't it? Hidden wisdom, lad. Inner military secrets of the Witchfinder army. When you're all initiated proper, you'll know the secret truth. Some voodoo may come from the West Indies, I'll grant you that. Hey Reen, welcome on in. Thank you for throwing us across the room. I think you'll find I'm the one who's supposed to throw you across the room, Reen, honestly. Oh yes, I'll grant you that. But the worst kind, the darkest kind, that comes from, Bangladesh? Ugh, yes, lad, that's it. Words right out of me mouth. Bangladesh, exactly. Shadwell made the end of his cigarette vanish, and managed furtively to roll another, never letting papers of tobacco be seen. So, you got anything, Witchfinder Private? Well, there's this. Newton held out the clipping. Shadwell squinted at it. Oh, them, he said. Load of rubbish. Call themselves bloody witches? I checked them out last year. Went down with me armory of righteousness and a packet of firelighters. Jammied the place open. They were clean as a whistle. Oh god, of course, like you could. Reen, I'm pretty certain I could easily carry you in one arm, okay? Thank you for doing the shout out there, Reen. Oh guys, we're taking a quick ad break. While the ads are playing, I will put it onto the BRB screen. Please use this opportunity to go grab a drink, stretch your legs, take a quick break while the ads are playing, and I will see you all very, very shortly.
Shut up.
Because you're doubting yourself, and if you doubt yourself, I'm going to tell you to shut up. Okay.
Why did I think you said daddy?
Wait, what? Who said daddy? Oh, I said doubting yourself. I mean, you know, I'm not saying that I'm your sugar daddy or anything, but
Shut your mouth. You are not.
If Olympus, if your
do you blip? Blip.
Well, if I'm giving you so much disrespect, then there would be no chance of you dumping subs on me tonight. Cause as a sugar baby, as you say I am, I shouldn't be disrespecting
Confession,
you.
confession. That's confession. 100%. Clip
It's
that.
not a
Clip
confession.
that. Clip that. Emmy. Clip
It's
that.
not a
Clip
confession.
that.
It's
Clip
not a
that. Clip
confession.
that. Clip it. Clipping it. Good job, Ronan. Thank you, Ronan. Nope. Fuck you. Nope, don't like that. Nope. Oh god. Yeah. Don't like that. You did this to me. You.
Yes.
That, play the bullfrog there. I don't have many cards. I need to break open that one.
I know what else you could break open.
Oh my god. That was all of 2
Wait,
seconds.
did I say that out loud? My bad. My
Yes! Yes, you did.
bad. God damn it.
That was all of 2 seconds. That was all of 2 seconds, I swear. Okay.
It could be longer than that.
Jesus. What a visual. Guys. That's... What the hell is that? Guys, we're gonna play with our balls again. You want answer? No, not yet, not yet. What do you mean you two? Why is everybody... Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Thank you very much for joining us and bearing with us through the ad break. I appreciate it. We now have no ads for another hour, so we can just sit back and relax. Zen, thank you for the bongos. My poor noggin, honestly. What is this abuse I receive? Shocking. Went down with me armory of righteousness and a packet of firelighters. Jimmied the place open, they were clean as a whistle. Mail order bee jelly business they're trying to pep up. Load of rubbish. Wouldn't know a familiar spirit if it chewed out the bottoms of their trousers. Rubbish. It's not like it used to be, laddie. He sat down and poured himself a cup of sweet tea from a filthy thermos. Did I ever tell you how I was recruited to the army? He asked. Newt took this as his cue to sit down. He shook his head. Shadwell lit his roll up with a battered Rumson lighter and coughed appreciatively. My cellmate, he was, Witchfinder Captain Fox. 10 years for arson, burning a coven in Wimbledon. Would have got them all too if it wasn't the wrong day. Good fellow. Told me about the battle, the great war between heaven and hell. It was him that told me the inner secrets of the Witchfinder army. Familiar spirits, nipples, all that. Rain, why are you sleeking away? Why are you slinking into the background there? Why are you hiding from me? You think you can hide from me? Gonna play some Barony, turn down the background music and listen to this while I play? Zen, I very much appreciate that. Thank you very much. Very kind of you. What in the world? What do you mean, what in the world? What's wrong, Rain? You have some interesting choice of emotes. Knew he was dying, you see. Got to have someone to carry on the tradition, like you is now. He shook his head. That's what we've been reduced to, lad, he said. A few 100 years ago, see, we was powerful. We stood between the world and the darkness. We was the thin red line of fire, you see. I thought the churches, Newt began. Pah, said Shadwell. Newt had seen the word in print, but this was the first time he'd ever heard anyone say it. Churches? What good did they ever do? Them just as bad. Same line of business, nearly. You can't trust them to stamp out the evil one, because if they did, they'd be out of that line of business. If you're going up against the tiger, you don't want fellow travellers whose idea of hunting is to throw meat at it. Nay, lad, it's up to us, against the darkness. The emote got on hype train, balloon talks. It's an interesting emote, Rain. It's definitely an interesting emote. Everything went quiet for a moment. Newt always tried to see the best in everyone, but it had occurred to him shortly after joining the Witch Army that the Witchfinder Army, that his superior and only fellow soldier was as well balanced as an upturned pyramid. Shortly, in this case, meant under 5 seconds. The WA's headquarters was a fetid room with walls the colour of nicotine, which was almost certainly what they were coated with, and a floor the colour of cigarette ash, which is almost certainly what it was. There was a small square of carpet. Newt avoided walking on it if possible, because it sucked at his shoes. Reen, put those tongues away. Reen, what do you think you're doing? Got my eye on you, One of the walls had a yellowing map of the British Isles tacked to it, with homemade flags sticking in it here and there. Most of them were within a cheap day return fare of London, but Newt had stuck with it the past few weeks because, well, horrid fascination had turned into horrified pity, and then a sort of horrified affection. Shadwell had turned out to be about 5 feet high and wore clothes which, no matter what they actually were, always turned up, even in your short-term memory, as an old Macintosh. The old man may have had all his own teeth, but only because no one else could possibly have wanted them. Just one of them, placed under the pillow, would have made the Tooth Fairy hand in its wand. Never. Reen, behave, Reen. He appeared to live entirely on sweet tea, condensed milk, hand-rolled cigarettes, and a sort of sullen internal energy. Shadwell had a cause which he followed with the full resources of his soul and his pensioner's concessionary travel pass. He believed in it. It powered him like a turbine. Newton Pulsifer had never had a cause in his life, nor had he, as far as he knew, ever believed in anything. It had been embarrassing, because he quite wanted to believe in something, since he recognized that belief was the lifebelt that got many people through the choppy waters of life. He'd have liked to believe in a supreme God, although he'd have preferred a half-hour's chat with him before committing himself, to clear up one or two points. He'd sat in all sorts of churches, waiting for that single flash of blue light, and it hadn't come. And then he tried to become an official atheist, and hadn't got the rock-hard, self-satisfied strength of belief even for that. And every single political party had seemed to him equally dishonest, and he'd given up on ecology when the ecology magazine he'd been subscribing to had shown its readers a plan of a self-sufficient garden and had drawn the ecological goat tethered within 3 feet of the ecological beehive. Newt had spent a lot of time at his grandmother's house in the country and thought he knew something about the habits of both goats and bees, and concluded therefore that the magazine was run by a bunch of bib-overalled maniacs. Besides, it used the word community too often. Newt had always suspected that people who regularly used the word community were using it in a very specific sense that excluded him and everyone he knew. Fox telling off the elf, lol. Yes. I should have. Do you want me to add a redeem to tell you off, Reen? Been a bad elf, Reen. Very bad. Very bad. Need to behave yourself, Reen. Then he tried believing in the universe, which seemed sound enough until he'd innocently started reading new books with words like chaos and time and quantum in the titles. He'd found that even the people whose job of work was, so to speak, the universe, didn't really believe in it and were actually quite proud of not knowing what it really was or even if it could theoretically exist. Ooh, good idea. That'd be a fun redeem. I approve this message. I'll tell you what. we'll take a quick detour to suffice Reen's desire for not gonna be cheap, mind you. Well, it's relatively cheap. There we go. There we go. Oh, and should we add an image to it as well? I think we could definitely add it. Everyone jump in, we're going on a ride. Yes. Quick 5-minute adventure, in and out. It's fine, it's fine. We're just taking a slight detour. I've saved our place in the book. We're all fine. There's no problems. Just looking for the right emote. I think that one will do. Yes. I think that's the appropriate emote for this. There we go. There we go. Is it switched on? Let's just... There we go. There we go. Let me update the description. There you go. Okay, right, there we go. Definitely finalized now. Perfect. Sorted. Just for Reen. Just for Reen. Would it be called Bad Elf Redeem? I've made it general. I've made it a general. Why so expensive? What do you mean, why so expensive? You want people asking me to tell them off all the time? I'd never get any rest. I suppose I can reduce the price down a bit. I'm assuming you don't have enough points for it then, Reen. Oh god. Privet? Oh, I don't know. I'm not familiar. Should be like one. I'm not gonna make it one, Reen. That's far too expensive. But welcome on in, guys. Thank you. I appreciate you being. Oh god, I'm probably butchering that name. I do apologize. But anyway, okay, fine. Let me. I'll make it a bit better for you, Reen. No, you're not having -1 channel point. I'll tell you what. Hang on. Fine, I'll make it cheap. But as a caveat, you can only everybody who comes in can only use it 3 times maximum per stream. There you go. You gain channel points from using it? No, I'm not going to give you a redeem that does that. You get 1. No, you get 3 each. Reen, you've been very, very, very bad today. Making me make redeems for you? How dare you? You should be ashamed. What am I going to do with you? There you go. That's how I'll stop people from spamming it. It's fine. I just have it set so that it can only be used 3 times per person per stream. Now call me an evil elf? Sounds to me like somebody needs to do it to redeem again to me, yeah. Welcome in, Koibito Kitsune. Oh god, I butchered that, didn't I? Sorry. Koibito Kitsune. Welcome on in, welcome on in. Hope you're having a good day. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're having fun. Hope you're enjoying yourself. No, it was perfect. Oh, that's very kind of you to say. Very generous of you. I often feel bad when I accidentally butcher people's usernames, but I appreciate the kind words anyway. No freebies for your best friend or your partner in crime. I have a feeling if I do one freebie for you, I'm going to have to do more freebies, aren't I? You know, asking me to do that, Reen, means that you're a very evil elf. Wait, so if Reen is forcing Jade to tell her off, who's the one with the power in that dynamic? Zen, I can answer that very easily. Me. I'm the one with the power. To Newt's straightforward mind, this was intolerable. Newt had not believed in the Cub Scouts, and then when he was old enough, not in the Scouts either. He was prepared to believe, though, that the job of wages clerk at the United Holdings PLC was possibly the most boring in the world. This is how Newton Pulsifer looked as a man. If he went into a phone booth and changed, he might manage to come out looking like Clark Kent. But he found he rather liked Shadwell. The Rahids liked him because he always eventually paid his rent and didn't cause any trouble, and was racist in such a glowing, undirected way that it was quite inoffensive. It was simply that Shadwell hated everyone in the world, regardless of caste, colour or creed, and wasn't going to make any exceptions for anyone. Explosive, thank you very much for daily check-in, I appreciate you being here. I love to rig the system. Well, Reen, you've only got 2 left you can use today. No more freebies. No more freebies, Reen. Madam Tracy liked him. Newt had been amazed to find that the tenant of the other flat was a middle-aged, motherly soul whose gentleman callers called as much for a cup of tea and a nice chat as for what little discipline she was still able to exact. Sometimes when he'd nursed her half-pint of Guinness on a Saturday night, Shadwell would stand in the corridor between their rooms and shout things like, "Whore of Babylon!" But she told Newt privately that she'd always felt rather gratified about this, even though the closest she'd been to Babylon was Torremolinos. Oh god, I can't say that one. Torremolinos? I've probably butchered that name as well. Bummed? Reen, why are you bummed? Are you bummed because I'm not letting you have free things on my stream? I've already given you one free thing today. Honestly. She said she didn't mind him banging on the wall and swearing during her seance afternoons either. Her knees had been giving her jip, and she wasn't always up to operating the table wrapper, she said, so a bit of muffled thumping came in useful. On Sundays, she'd leave him a bit of dinner on his doorstep, with another plate over the top of it to keep it warm. What about some physical therapy? Wink wink. Reen, what kind of physical therapy do you have in mind? I'm always happy to help if people are in need. You couldn't help liking Shadwell, she said, for all the good it did, though she might as well be flicking bread pellets into a black hole. Newt remembered the other cuttings. He pushed them across the stained desk. "What are these?" said Shadwell suspiciously. "Phenomena," said Newt. "You said to look for phenomena. There's more phenomena than witches these days, I'm afraid." "Anyone been shooting hares with a silver bullet, and next day an old crone in the village is walking with a limp?" Shadwell said hopefully. "I'm afraid not." "Any cows dropping dead after some woman has looked at them?" "No." "What is it then?" said Shadwell. He shuffled across to the sticky brown cupboard and pulled out a tin of condensed milk. Odd things happening, said Newt. The fun kind of physical therapy. I see, Reen, I see. Thank you for telling me. I'm sure you could give me a very detailed and graphical description of what physical therapy you have in mind. Ah, dear. He'd spent weeks on this. Shadwell had really let the papers pile up. Some of them went back for years. Newt had quite a good memory, perhaps because in his 26 years very little had happened to fill it up, and he had become quite expert on some very esoteric subjects. Seems to be something new every day, said Newt, flicking through the rectangles of newsprint. Something weird has been happening to nuclear power stations, and no one seems to know what it is, and some people are claiming that the lost continent of Atlantis has risen, he said, proud of his efforts. Shadwell's penknife punctured the condensed milk tin. There was the distant sound of a telephone ringing. Both men instinctively ignored it. All the calls were for Madame Tracy anyway, and some of them were not intended for the ear of man. Newt had conscientiously answered the phone on his first day, listened carefully to the question, said, Marks & Spencer's 100% cotton Y fronts, actually, and had been left with a dead receiver. Shadwell sucked deeply. That's no proper phenomena, he said. Can't see any witches doing that. They're more for the sinking of things, you know. Newt's mouth opened and shut a few times. If we're strong in the fight against witchery, we can't afford to be sidetracked by this style of thing. Shadwell went on. Have you got anything more witchcrafty? But American troops have landed on it to protect it from things, moaned Newt. A non-existent continent. Any witches on it? Said Shadwell, showing a spark of interest for the first time. It doesn't say, said Newt. Then it's just politics and geography, said Shadwell dismissively. Save you from it? Maybe too much for you to handle. Reen, I'm sure I could handle whatever you could throw at me. In the same way I could probably throw you quite easily across a room. Madame Tracy poked her head around the door. Queen, Mr. Shadwell, she said, giving Newt a friendly little wave. A gentleman on the telephone for you. Hello, Mr. Newton. Away with you, harlot, said Shadwell automatically. He sounds ever so refined, said Madame Tracy, taking no notice. And I'll be getting us a nice bit of liver for Sunday. I'd sooner supper with the devil, woman. So if you'd let me have the plates back from last week, it'd be a help. There's a love, said Madame Tracy, and tottered unsteadily back on 3-inch heels to her flat, and whatever it was that had been interrupted. Well, goddamn. I had a recommendation. You may do indeed. Where are we? Newt looked despondently at his cuttings as Shadwell went out, grumbling to the phone. There was one about the stones of Stonehenge moving out of position, as though there were iron fillings in a magnetic field. He was vaguely aware of one side of a telephone conversation. Who? I. You say? What class of thing would that be? Aye. Just so you say so. And where is this place then? But mysteriously moving stones wasn't Shadwell's cup of tea, or rather, tin of milk. Should add some triggers as a redeem? What triggers are these, Reen? when doing ASMR. What triggers? What triggers are you on about? You know me? Do I? Do I know you? Ah, dear. Fine, fine, Shadwell reassured the caller. We'll get on it right away. I'll put my best squad on it and report success to you any minute, I have no doubt. Goodbye to you, sir. And bless you too, sir. There was the ting of a receiver going back on the hook, and then Shadwell's voice, no longer metaphorically crouched in deference, said, "Dear boy, you great southern pansy." Shadwell hated all southerners, and by inference was standing at the North Pole. He shuffled back into the room, and then stared at Newt as if he had forgotten why he was there. "What was it you was going on about?" he said. "All these things that are happening," Newt began. "Aye," Shadwell continued to look through him, while thoughtfully tapping the empty tin around his teeth. "Don't you know who I am?" I am in the dark. It is a mystery to me. Well, I would suggest maybe water noises or even fire crackling. You could have like breathing or tapping. Oh, I see. Yes, I suppose I could do something like that. That's a good suggestion. Reen, would you mind adding that suggestion in the Discord if that's okay? Just so I don't forget. I would hate to forget that because that's a good idea. I like that idea. Well, there's this little town which has been having some amazing weather for the last few years, Newt went on helplessly. What? Raining frogs and similar? Said Shadwell, brightening up a bit. No, it just has a normal weather it has normal weather for the time of year. Call that a phenomena? Said Shadwell. I've seen phenomena that make your hair curl, laddie. He started tapping again. When do you remember normal weather for the time of year? Said Newt, slightly annoyed. Normal weather for the time of year isn't normal, Sergeant. It has snow at Christmas. When did you last see snow at Christmas? And long hot Augusts every year? And crisp autumns? The kind of weather you used to dream of as a kid? It never rained on November the 5th, and always snowed on Christmas Eve? Shadwell's eyes looked unfocused. He paused with the condensed milk tin halfway to his lips. I never used to dream when I was a kid, he said quietly. Newt was aware of skidding around the lip of some deep, unpleasant pit. He mentally backed away. It's just very odd, he said. There's a weatherman like here talking about averages and norms, and microclimates and things like that. What's that mean? Said Shadwell. Means he doesn't know why, said Newt, who hasn't spent years on the littoral business without picking up a thing or two. He looked sidelong at the Witchfinder Sergeant. Witches are well known for affecting the weather, he prompted. I looked it up in the Discovery. Oh God, he thought. Or other suitable entity. Don't let me spend another evening cutting newspapers to bits in this ashtray of a room. Let me get out in the fresh air. Let me do whatever it is the WA's equivalent of going water skiing in Germany. This is my new account. I remember I taught you Russian. Did you? I don't remember being taught Russian. It's only 40 miles away, he said tentatively. I thought I could just sort of nip over there tomorrow and have a look around, you know. I'll pay my own petrol, he added. Shadwell wiped his upper lip thoughtfully. This place, he said, it wouldn't be called Tadfield, would it? That's right, Mr. Shadwell, said Newt. How did you know that? Wonder what the Southerners is playing at now, said Shadwell under his breath. Well, he said out loud, and why not? You'll be playing, Sergeant? Said Newt. Shadwell ignored him. Aye, I suppose you can't do any harm. You'll pay your own petrol, you say? Newt nodded. Then you'll come here at 9 o'clock in the morning, he said. Before you go. What for? Said Newt. Your armor of righteousness. Just after Newt had let the phone rang again. Just after Newt left, the phone rang again. This time it was Crowley, who gave approximately the same instructions as Aziraphale. Shadwell took them down again for form's sake, while Madame Tracy hovered delightedly behind him. 2 calls in 1 day, Mr. Shadwell, she said. Your little army must be marching away like anything. Ack, away with you, you murine blashed Perazine, muttered Shadwell, and slammed the door. Hadfield, he thought. Oh well, so long as they paid up on time. Neither Aziraphale or Crowley ran the Witchfinder army, but they both approved of it, or at least knew that it would be approved of by their superiors. So it appeared on the list of Aziraphale's agencies because it was, well, a Witchfinder army, and you had to support anyone calling themselves Witchfinders in the same way that the USA has to support anyone calling themselves anti-communist. And it appeared on Crowley's list for the slightly more sophisticated reason that people like Shadwell did the cause of hell no harm at all. Quite the reverse, it was felt. Reen, why are you redeeming this again? How dare you? You're being very bad today, Reen. I won't stand for this. No, I won't stand for this at all, Reen. Try and test me again. Ooh, you won't like what happens. You bad girl. Strictly speaking, Shadwell didn't run the WA either. According to Shadwell's pay ledgers, it was run by Witchfinder General Smith. Under him were Witchfinder Colonels Green and Jones, and Witchfinder Majors Jackson, Robinson, and Smith, no relation. Then there were Witchfinder Majors Saucepan, Tin, Milk, and Cupboard, because Shadwell's limited imagination had been beginning to struggle at this point. And Witchfinder Captains Smith, and Smythe, and Ditto. And 500 Witchfinder privates and corporals and sergeants. Many of them were called Smith, but this didn't matter because neither Crowley nor Aziraphale had ever bothered to read that far. They simply handed over the bill. After all, both lots put together only came to around £60 a year. Shadwell didn't consider this in any way criminal. The army was a sacred trust, and a man had to do something. The old 9pences weren't coming in like they used to. Sweetie Fox, welcome in. Oh God, I apologize. I'm probably gonna butcher this name. Welcome in to Kel Clerks? Oh God, I apologize. That was terrible. Oh, sorry. No, is that? Oh, it's to Kelsey Works. I see. I apologize. For butchering your name. Oh yes. Oh. Ubito Kutsune, thank you very much for toggling my glasses on. Definitely helps with the reading. I apologize. I should have had these on from the start. I'll tell you what. When the redeem expires, I'll put them on permanently. And let me. I'm going to refund your points back to you because I should have been wearing these in the first place, and I don't like to take points when I shouldn't be. I'll send that back to you. There you go. Okay, there we go. Yes, and then like I said, once this redeem finishes, I'll toggle them on permanently. There you go. Saturday. It was very early on Saturday morning, on the last day of the world, and the sky was redder than blood. The International Express delivery man rounded the corner at a careful 35 miles an hour, shifted down to second, and pulled up on the grass verge. He got out of the van and immediately threw himself into a ditch to avoid an oncoming lorry that had barreled around the bend at something well in excess of 80 miles an hour. He got up, picked up his glasses, put them back on, retrieved his parcel and clipboard, brushed the grass and mud from his uniform, and as an afterthought, shook his fist at the rapidly diminishing lorry. Shouldn't be allowed, bloody lorries. No respect for other road users. What I always say is remember that without a car, son, you're just a pedestrian too. Reen, what's with the kitty cat? What's with the kitty cat, Reen? It's very cute though. It's a cute redeem. He climbed down the grassy verge, clambered over a low fence, and found himself beside the River Uck. The International Express delivery man walked along the banks of the river, holding the parcel. Farther down the riverbank sat a young man dressed all in white. He was the only person in sight. His hair was white, his skin chalk pale, and he sat and stared up and down the river as if he were admiring the view. He looked like Victorian romantic poets looked just before the consumption and drug abuse really started to cut it. Gross out face? Oh, it's Coco's emo. Oh, I see. Really? You're going to use your last tell me off redeem now? Very well, Reen, very well. As you have asked. Reen, I can't believe you've wasted all of those redeems that I made for you. How dare you? You've been so bad. I'm going to have to punish you after this. You better be there, ready. The International Express man couldn't understand it. I mean, in the old days, and it wasn't that long ago, really, there had been an angler every dozen yards along the bank. Children had played there. Courting couples had come to listen to the splish and gurgle of the river, and to hold hands, and to get all lovey-dovey in the Sussex sunset. He'd done that with Maud, his missus, before they were married. They'd come here to spoon, and on one memorable occasion, fork. Need some work, but it's good. Whatever you say, Reen. Whatever you say. Times changed, reflected the delivery man. Now white and brown sculptures of foam and sludge drifted serenely down the river, often covering it for yards at a stretch, and where the surface of the water was visible, it was covered with a molecules-thin petrochemical sheen. There was a loud whirring as a couple of geese, thankful to be back in England again after the long, exhausting flight across the Northern Atlantic, landed on the rainbow-slicked water and sank without a trace. Funny old world, thought the delivery man. Here's the Uck. Used to be the prettiest river in this part of the world, and now it's just a glorified industrial sewer. The swans sink to the bottom, and the fishes float on the top. But that's progress for you. You can't stop progress. Right, my glasses have disappeared. Right, first things first, let me switch off the glasses toggle. And then let me turn on my glasses permanently so that we can... Hang on. There we go. Now I can read my book properly. Honestly, I can't believe I was trying to read without my glasses. He had reached the man in white. Excuse me, sir. Party name of Chalky? The man in white nodded, said nothing. He continued to gaze out at the river, following an impressive sludge and foam sculpture with his eyes. So beautiful, he whispered. It's all so damn beautiful. The delivery man found himself temporarily devoid of words. Then his automatic systems cut in. Funny old world, isn't it? And no mistake, I mean, you go all over the world delivering, and then here you are practically in your own home, so to speak. I mean, I was born and bred around here, sir. I've been to the Mediterranean and to Des Moines, and that's in America, sir. And now here I am, and here's your parcel, sir. Party name of Chalky took the parcel, and took the clipboard, and signed for the parcel. The pen developed a leak as he did so, and his signature obliterated itself as it was written. It was a long word, and it began with a P, and then there was a splooge, and then it ended in something that might have been Ents, and it might have been Ocean. Much obliged, sir, said the delivery man. He walked back along the river, back towards the busy road where he had left his van, trying not to look at the river as he went. Behind him, the man in the white opened the parcel. In it was a crown, a circlet of white metal set with diamonds. He gazed at it some seconds with satisfaction and put it on. It glinted in the light of the rising sun, and the tarnish, which had begun to suffuse its silver surface when his fingers touched it, spread to cover it completely, and the crown went black. White stood up. There's one thing you can say for air pollution. You get utterly amazing sunrises. It looked like someone had set fire to the sky, and a careless match would have set fire to the river. But alas, there was no time for that now. In his mind, he knew where the four of them would be meeting, and when he was going to have to hurry to be there by this afternoon. Perhaps we will set fire to the sky, he thought, and he left that place almost imperceptibly. It was nearly time. The delivery man had left his van on the grass verge by the dual carriageway. He walked around to the driver's side, carefully because other cars and lorries were still rocketing around the bend, reached in through the open window and took the schedule from the dashboard. Only one more delivery to make, then. He read the instructions on the delivery voucher carefully. He read them again, paying particularly close attention to the address and the message. The address was one word: everywhere. Then, with his leaking pen, he wrote a brief note to Maud, his wife. It read simply, "I love you." Then he put the schedule back on the dashboard, looked left, looked right, looked left again, and began to walk purposely across the road. He was halfway across it when a German juggernaut came around the corner, its driver crazed on caffeine, little white pills, and easy transport regulations. He watched its receding bulk. Core, he thought. That one nearly had me. Then he looked down at the gutter. Oh, he thought. Yes, agreed a voice from behind his left shoulder, or at least from behind the memory of his left shoulder. The delivery man turned and looked and saw. At first he couldn't find the words, couldn't find anything, and then the habits of a working lifetime took over, and he said, "Message for you, sir." "For me?" "Yes, sir." He wished he still had a throat. He could have swallowed if he still had a throat. "No package, I'm afraid, mister." Sir? It's a message." "Deliver it, then." "It's this, sir. Come and see." Finally. There was a grin on its face, but then, given the face, it couldn't have been anything else. "Thank you," it continued. "I must commend your devotion to duty." "Sir?" The late delivery man was falling through a grey mist, and all he could see were two spots of blue that might have been eyes and might have been distant stars. "Don't think of it as dying," said Death. "Just think of it as leaving early to avoid the rush." The delivery man had a brief moment to wonder whether his new companion was making a joke, and to decide that he wasn't, then there was nothing. Red sky in the morning. It was going to rain. Yes. I started not doing so well, so I'm going to head out. Reen, that's quite alright. I appreciate you being here, but obviously please take care of yourself. 100% take care of yourself. I'm very grateful for you being here and supporting me. But yeah, get rest. Take care of yourself. This week especially, okay? And like I said, I'll drop you a message after stream if you want, okay? You look after yourself, Reen. Witchfinder Sergeant Shadwell stood back with his head on one side. Right then, he said. You're all ready. Have you got it all? Yes, sir. Pendulum of Discovery? Pendulum of Discovery, yes. Thumbscrew? Newt swallowed and patted a pocket. Thumbscrew, he said. Firelighters? I really think, Sergeant, that... Firelighters? Firelighters, said Newt sadly, and matches. Note, for Americans and other city-dwelling lifeforms, the rural British have eschewed central heating as being far too complicated and in any case weakening moral fibre. Prefer a system of piling small pieces of wood and lumps of coal topped by large wet logs, possibly made of asbestos, into small smouldering heaps known as there's nothing like a roaring open fire, is there? Since none of these ingredients are naturally inclined to burn, underneath all this they apply a small, rectangular, waxy white lump, which burns cheerfully until the weight of the fire puts it out. These little white blocks are called firelighters. No one knows why. Thank you. I appreciate it, really. I said, take care, Reen. Take care. I will speak to you later. Bell, book, and candle. Newt patted another pocket. It contained a paper bag inside which was a small bell, the sort that Madden's butcher. Oh God, Madden's butcheriggers. A pink candle of the birthday cake persuasion, and a tiny book called Prayers for Little Hands. Shadwell had impressed upon him that, although witches were the primary target, a good witchfinder should never pass up the chance to do a quick exorcism, and should have his field kit with him at all times. Bell, book, and candle. Pin. Good lad. Never forget your pin. It's the bayonet in your artillery alight. Shadwell stood back. Newt noticed with amazement that the old man's eyes had misted over. I wish I was going with you, he said. Of course, this won't be anything, but it'd be good to get out and about again. It's a trying life, you know, all this lying in the wet bracken, spying on their devilish dancing. It gets into your bones something cruel. He straightened up and saluted. Off you go then, Private Pulsifer. May the armies of glorification march with you. After Newt had driven off, Shadwell thought of something that he'd never had the chance to do before. What he needed now was a pin. Not a military issue pin, which is for the use of, just an ordinary pin, such as you might stick in a map. The map was on the wall. It was old. It didn't show Milton Keynes. It didn't show Harlow. It barely showed Manchester and Birmingham. It had been the Army's HQ map for 300 years. There were a few pins in it still, mainly in Yorkshire and Lancashire, and a few in Essex, but they were almost rusted through. Elsewhere, mere brown stubs indicated the distant mission of a long-ago witchfinder. Shadwell finally found a pin among the debris in an ashtray. He breathed on it, polished it to a shine, squinted at the map until he located Tadfield, and triumphantly rammed the pin home. It gleamed. Shadwell took a step backward and saluted again. There were tears in his eyes. Then he did a smart about turn and saluted the display cabinet. It was old and battered, and the glass was broken, but in a way it was the WA. It contained the regimental silver, the inter-battalion golf trophy not competed for, alas, in 70 years. It contained the patent muzzle-loading thunder gun of Witchfinder Colonel. Ye shall not eat any living thing with the blood, neither shall ye use enchantment, nor observe times. Dalrymple. God, it contained a display of what were apparently walnuts, but were in reality a collection of shrunken headhunter heads donated by Witchfinder CSM Horace. Get them before they get you, Narka, who travelled widely in foreign parts. It contained memories. Shadwell blew his nose noisily on his sleeve. Then he opened a tin of condensed milk for breakfast. If the armies of glorification had tried to march with Newt, bits of them would have dropped off. This is because, apart from Newt and Shadwell, they had been dead for quite a long time. It was a mistake to think of Shadwell. Newt never found out if he had a first name, as a lone nut. It was just that all the others were dead, in most cases for several hundred years. Once the army had been as big as it currently appeared in Shadwell's creatively edited bookkeeping, Newt had been surprised to find that the Witchfinder army had antecedents as long and almost as bloody as its more mundane counterpart. The rates of pay for Witchfinders had last been set by Oliver Cromwell, and never reviewed. Officers got a crown, and the general got a sovereign. It was just an honorarium, of course, because you got 9 pence per witch found, and first pick of their property. You really got to rely on those 9 pences, and so times had been hit hard before Shadwell had gone on the payrolls of heaven and hell. Newt's pay was 1 old shilling per year. Note for young people and Americans: 1 shilling equals 5p. It helps to understand the antique finances of the Witchfinder army if you know the original British monetary system. 2 farthings equals 1 halfpenny, 2 halfpennies equals 1 penny, 3 pennies equals a threepenny bit, 2 threepennies equals a sixpence, 2 sixpences equals 1 shilling, or bob. 2 bob equals a florin, 1 florin and 1 sixpence equals half a crown, 4 half crowns equals 10 bob note, 2 10 bob notes equals £1 or 240 pennies, £1 and 1 shilling equals 1 guinea. The British resisted decimalised currency for a long time because they thought it was too complicated. I'm glad we don't have to deal with that anymore. I much prefer a decimalised currency than to shillings and halfpennies and threepences. Hey Snowy, welcome on in. I appreciate you being here. How are you doing? I hope you've had a good day. I appreciate you joining us today. Yeah, we're just reading a bit more of Good Omens, so yeah. In return for this, he was charged to keep glimmer, firelock, firebox, tinderbox, or igniferous matches about his person at all times, although Shadwell indicated that a Ronson gaslighter would do very well. Shadwell had accepted the invention of the patent cigarette lighter in the same way that conventional soldiers welcomed the repeating rifle. The way Newt looked at it, it was like being in one of those organizations like the Sealed Knot, or those people who kept on refighting the American Civil War. It got you out at the weekends and meant that you were keeping alive fine old traditions that had made Western civilization what it was today. Okay guys, we have got ads coming in about 3 minutes time. When the ads come in, I will put it onto the BRB screen. We'll take a quick 2-3 minute break. We'll use the opportunity to go grab a drink, stretch our legs, get some food, do whatever you need to do, and then when we come back, we'll have no more ads for the rest of the stream. So we'll be doing that in about 2 minutes. An hour after leaving the headquarters, Newt pulled into a lay-by and rummaged in the box on the passenger seat. Then he opened the car window, using a pair of pliers for the purpose, since the handle had long since fallen off. A packet of firelighters was sent winging over the hedge. A moment later, the thumb screw followed it. He debated about the rest of the stuff, and then put it back in the box. The pin was Witchfinder military issue, with a good ebony knob on the end like a lady's hat pin. He knew what it was for. He'd done quite a lot of reading. Shadwell had piled him up with pamphlets at their first meeting, but the army had also accumulated various books and documents which, Newt suspected, would be worth a fortune if they ever hit the market. The pin was to jab into suspects. If there was a spot on their body where they didn't feel anything, they were a witch. Simple. Some of the fraudulent witchfinders had used special retracting pins, but this one was honest, solid steel. He wouldn't be able to look old Shadwell in the face if he threw away a pin. Besides, it was probably bad luck. He started the engine and resumed his journey. Newt's car was a Wasabi. He called it Dick Turpin, in the hope that one day someone would ask him why. It would be a very accurate historian who could pinpoint the precise day when the Japanese changed from being fiendish automatons who copied everything from the West to becoming skilled and cunning engineers who would leave the West standing. But the Wasabi had been designed on that one confused day and combined the traditional bad points of most Western cars with a host of innovative disasters, the avoidance of which had made firms like Honda and Toyota what they were today. Newt had never actually seen another one on the road, despite his best efforts. For years, and without much conviction, he'd infused to his friends about its economy and efficiency in the desperate hope that one of them might buy one, because misery loves company. In vain did he point out its 823cc engine, its 3-geared free-speed gearbox, its incredible safety devices like the balloons which inflated on dangerous occasions, such as when you were doing 45 miles per hour on a straight dry road, but were about to crash because a huge safety balloon. Oh, I apologize. I love this bit. But we're about to... Oh my god. But we're about to crash because a huge safety balloon had just obscured the view. Honestly. He'd also waxed slightly lyrical about the Korean-made radio, which picked up Radio Pyongyang incredibly well, and the simulated electronic voice which warned you about not wearing a seatbelt, even when you were. It had been programmed by someone who not only didn't understand English, but didn't understand Japanese either. It was state of the art, he said. The art in this case was probably pottery. Okay guys, right, the ads are coming in, I'm putting this onto the BRB screen, I will see you all in 3 minutes time.
It's fine. Wait, was I followed? Oh, Nico. I didn't realize you were a staff member. Please don't blame me for stabbing myself. It's so bad. Welcome in. Yes, appreciate you being here.
Here. Get out of here. No, you're not getting anything from me
come
tonight.
here,
No.
Reem. Come
No, you
here.
cannot.
Come here.
You cannot butter me up. No.
Come
No.
Come here.
No, you got me backed up in the corner. Oh no, Chad. Help me. Help me, he's got me backed up in the corner.
hang on.
Oh no, this is so tragic. This is so tragic.
Oh yeah, you seem really broken
What
up.
am I
about this.
gonna
Hang
do?
on. I could do the anime trope, be like the.
Oh.
Oh hey. You good?
Wow. Spicy.
Wow.
Look, Chad's feeling uncomfortable.
You did this. You started this.
Okay, it's fine. Let me try and do. Hang on. Give me 2 seconds. Wait. Hey guys, wait, why have I got loading? No, you just ruined my intro. God damn it.
How? Why? I have so many questions!
I did
Did you
not.
see that chat? Hey!
Now I lifted you up.
Back! Back!
Oh, don't you? What are you doing?
Going.
Stop it.
They're going!
No.
They're
No.
going! They're
Let me
going.
kidnap you. Let me kidnap
No hit
you.
pass for you then. No.
What?
No hit pass for you.
Harsh. Uncalled for.
You have been a worthy adversary, but unfortunately I'm a spoon. I'm a spoon. I read the second word with the first word. Not spoon. We're not spooning. No. I must soon put you to death.
In a way.
No, you're not.
Should
You're fine. No, you're fine.
Are you sure?
Yes,
take
I'm
the
sure.
whole
No, you're not. You're fine. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up.
Don't tell me to shut up.
Because you're doubting yourself, and if you doubt yourself, I'm going to tell you to shut up.
Why,
Okay.
Why did I think you said daddy?
Wait, what? Who said daddy? Oh, I said doubting yourself. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm your sugar daddy or anything, but
Shut your mouth. You are not.
If Olympus, if your
do you blip? Blip.
Zeus, not even
Well, if I'm giving you so much disrespect, then there would be no chance of you dumping subs on me tonight. Cause as a sugar baby, as you say I am, I shouldn't be disrespecting
Confession.
you.
Confession. Confession. That's confession. That's confession. 100%. Clip
It's
that.
not a
Clip that. Clip that. Emmy. Clip.
It's
Clip.
not a
Clip.
confession.
Clip.
It
Clip
is
that.
not
Clip
a
that. Clip
confession.
that. Clip it. Clipping it. Good job, Ronan. Thank you, Ronan.
Okay, welcome back everybody. Thank you for bearing with us through the ad break. We now have no ads for the rest of stream. We'll probably go for another half an hour, give or take. We'll see where we get to, and we'll find a good place to finish for the day. But yes, I hope you've all taken the opportunity to grab a drink, stretch your legs, do whatever it is you need to do. And yeah, we'll now lock in for the rest of stream. His friends nodded and agreed, and privately decided that if it ever came to buying a wasabi, or walking, they'd invest in a pair of shoes. It came to the same thing anyway, since one reason for the wasabi's incredible miles per gallon was the fact that it spent a lot of time waiting in garages, crankshafts and things were in the post from the world's only surviving wasabi agent in Nigarazushi, Japan. In that vague Zen-like trance in which most people drive, Newt found himself wondering exactly how you'd use the pin. Did you say, "I've got a pin and I'm not afraid to use it"? Have pin will travel, the pin slinger, the man with the golden pin, the pins of Navarone. It might have interested Newt to know that of that 39,000 women tested with the pin during the centuries of witch hunting, 29,000 of them said 29,000 said ouch, 9,999 didn't feel anything because of the use of the aforesaid retractable pins, and one witch declared that it had miraculously cleared up the arthritis in her leg. Her name was Agnes Nutter. She was the Witchfinder Army's great failure. One of the early entries in the Nice and Accurate Prophecies concerned Agnes Nutter's own death. The English, by and large, being a crass and intolerant and indolent race, were not as keen on burning women as other countries in Europe. In Germany, the bonfires were built and burned with regular tectonic thoroughness. Even the pious Scots, locked throughout history in a long drawn-out battle with their arch-enemies, the Scots, managed a few burnings to while away the long winter evenings. But the English never seemed to have the heart for it. One reason for this may have to do with the manner of Agnes Nutter's death, which more or less marked the end of the serious witch-hunting craze in England. A howling mob reduced to utter fury by her habit of going around, being intelligent and curing people, arrived at her house one April evening to find her sitting with her coat on, waiting for them. "You're tardy," she said to them. "I should have been aflame 10 minutes ago." Then she got up and hobbled slowly through the sudden silent crowd, out to the cottage and to the bonfire that had been hastily thrown together on the village green. Legend says that she climbed awkwardly onto the pyre, thrust her arms around the stake behind her. "Tie it well," she said to the astonished witchfinder, and then, as the villagers sidled toward the pyre, she raised her handsome head in the firelight and said, "Come ye right close, good people. Come close until the fire near scorch ye, for I charge ye that all must see how the last true witch in England dies. For witch I am, so I am judged, yet I know not what my true crime may be. And therefore let my death be a true message to the world. Gather ye right close, I say, and mark well the fate of all who meddle with such as they do not understand. And apparently she smiled and looked up at the sky over the village and added, "That goes for you as well, you daft old fool." And after that strange blasphemy she said no more. She let them gag her and stood imperiously as the torches were put to the dry wood. The crowd grew near, one or two of its members a little uncertain as to whether they'd done the right thing, now they came to think about it. 30 seconds later, an explosion took out the village green, scythed the valley clean of every living thing, and was seen as far away as Halifax. There's been much subsequent debate as to whether this had been sent by God or by Satan, but a note later found in Agnes Nutt's cottage indicated that any divine or devilish intervention had been materially helped by the contents of Agnes's petticoats, wherein she had, with some foresight, concealed 80 pounds of gunpowder and 40 pounds of roofing nails. What Agnes also left behind on the kitchen table, beside a note cancelling the milk, was a box and a book. There were specific instructions as to what would be done with the box, and equally specific instructions about what should be done with the book. It was to be sent to Agnes's son, John Device. The people who found it, who were from the next village and had been woken up by the explosion, considered ignoring the instruction and just burning the cottage, and then looked around at the twinkling fires and nail-studded wreckage and decided not to. Besides, Agnes's note included painfully precise predictions about what would happen to people who did not carry out her orders. Eerie, welcome on in. Thank you for joining us. Thank you very much for your daily check-in. I appreciate you joining us today. I hope you're having a good day. Have you been keeping yourself well? I saw you were doing a cleanse the other day. But yes, I hope you're taking care of yourself. The man who put the torch to Agnes Nutter was a witchfinder major. They found his hat in a tree 2 miles away. His name stitched inside on a fairly large piece of tape was "Thou shalt not commit adultery, Pulsifer," one of England's most assiduous witchfinders, and it might have afforded him some satisfaction to know that his last surviving descendant was now, even if unawares, heading towards Agnes Nutter's last surviving descendant. He might have felt that some ancient revenge was at last going to be discharged. If he'd known what was actually going to happen when he met her, he would have turned in his grave, except that he never got one. Firstly, however, Newt had to do something about the flying saucer. It landed in the road ahead of him just as he was trying to find Lower Tadfield. He had the map spread over the steering wheel. He had to brake hard. It looked like every cartoon of a flying saucer Newt had ever seen. As he stared over the top of his map, a door in the saucer slid aside with a satisfying whoosh, revealing a gleaming walkway which extended automatically down to the road. Brilliant blue light shone out, outlining 3 alien shapes. They walked down the ramp. At least 2 of them walked. The one that looked like a pepper pot just skidded down it and fell over at the bottom. The other 2 ignored its frantic beeping and walked over to the car quite slowly, in the worldwide approved manner of policemen already compiling the charge sheet in their heads. The tallest one, a yellow toad dressed in kitchen foil, rapped on Newt's window. He wound it down. The thing was wearing the kind of mirror-finished sunglasses that Newt always thought as cool hand Luke shades. "Morning, sir, or madam, or neutral," the thing said. "This your planet, is it?" The other alien, which was stubby and green, had wandered off into the woods by the side of the road. Out of the corner of his eye, Newt saw it kick a tree and then run a leaf through some complicated gadget on its belt. It didn't look very pleased. "Well, yes, I suppose so," Newt said. The toad stared thoughtfully at the skyline. "Had it long, have we, sir?" he said. Not personally. I mean, as a species, about 500,000 years, I think. The alien exchanged glances with its colleague. Been letting the old acid rain build up, haven't we, sir? It said. Been letting ourselves go a bit with the old hydrocarbons, perhaps? I'm sorry? Could you tell me your planet's albedo, sir? Said the toad, still staring levelly at the horizon as though it was doing something interesting. No. Well, I'm sorry to have to tell you, sir, that your polar ice caps are below regulation size for a planet of this category, sir. Oh dear, said Newt. He was wondering who he could tell about this, and realizing that there was absolutely no one who would believe him. The toad bent closer. It seemed to be worried about something, insofar as Newt was any judge of the expressions of an alien race he'd never encountered before. We'll overlook it on this occasion, sir. Newt gabbled. Oh, I'll see to it. Well, when I say I mean, I think Antarctica or something belongs to every country or something, and the fact is, sir, that we have been asked to give you a message. Oh? Message runs, we give you a message of universal peace and cosmic harmony and cosmic harmony and such like. Message ends, said the toad. Oh. Newt turned this over in his mind. Oh, that's very kind. Have you got any idea why we've been asked to give you this message, sir? Said the toad. Newt brightened. Well, I suppose, he flailed. What with mankind's harnessing of the atom and... Neither have we, sir, the toad stood up. One of them phenomena, I expect. Well, we better be going. It shook its head vaguely, turned around, and waddled back to the saucer without another word. Newt stuck his head out of the window. Thank you. The small alien walked past the car. CO2 level up 0.5% if we're asked, giving him a meaningful look. You do know you could find yourself charged with being a dominant species while under the influence of impulse-driven consumerism, don't you? The two of them rightened the third alien, dragged it back up the ramp, shut the door. Newt waited for a while in case there were any spectacular light displays, but it just stood there. Eventually he drove up on the verge and around it. When he looked in his rearview mirror, it had gone. I must be overdoing something, he thought guiltily. But what? And I can't even tell Shadwell, because he'd probably bawl me out for not counting their nipples. Anyway, said Adam, you've got it all wrong about witches. The them were sitting on a field gate, watching Dog rolling in cowpats. The little mongrel seemed to be enjoying himself immensely. I've been reading about them, he said, in a slightly louder voice. Actually, they've been right all along, and it's wrong to persecute them with British Inquisitions and stuff. My mother said they were just intelligent women protesting in the only way open to them against the stifling injustices of a male-dominated social hierarchy, said Pepper. Pepper's mother lectured at Norton Polytechnic during the day. In the evening, she gave power tower readings to nervous executives because old habits die hard. Yes, but your mother's always saying things like that, said Adam after a while. Pepper nodded amiably, and she said, at worst they were just free-thinking worshippers of the progenerative principle. Who's the progenerative principle? Said Wensleydale. Dunno. Something to do with maypoles, I think, said Pepper vaguely. Well, I thought they worshipped the devil, said Brian, but without automatic condemnation. Them had an open mind on the whole subject of devil worship. Them had an open mind about everything. Anyway, the devil would be better than a stupid maypole. That's where you're wrong, said Adam. It's not the devil, it's another god or something, with horns. The devil, said Brian. No, said Adam patiently. People just got him mixed up. He's just got horns similar. He's called Pan. He's half a goat. Which half? Said Wensleydale. Adam thought about it. The bottom half, he said at length. Fancy you not knowing that. I should have thought everyone knew that. Goats haven't got a bottom half, said Wensleydale. They've got a front half and a back half, just like cows. They watched Dog some more, drumming their heels on the gate. It was too hot to think. Then Pepper said, "If he's got goat legs, he shouldn't have horns. They belong to the front half." "I didn't make him up, did I?" said Adam, aggravated. "I was just telling you. It's news to me. I made him up. No need to go on at me." "Anyway," said Pepper, "this stupid Pot can't go around complaining if people think he's the devil. Not with having horns on. People are bound to say, 'Oh, here comes the devil.'" Dog started to dig up a rabbit hole. Adam, who seemed to have a weight on his mind, took a deep breath. "You don't have to be so literal about everything," he said. "That's the trouble these days. Grass materialism. People like you go around chopping down rainforests, making holes in the ozone layer. There's a great big hole in the ozone layer because of grass materialism. People like you." "I can't do anything about it," said Brian automatically. "I'm still paying off on a stupid cucumber frame." "It's in the magazine," said Adam. "It takes millions of acres of rainforest to make one beef burger, and all this ozone is leaking away because of..." He hesitated. "People spraying the environment." "And there's whales," said Wensleydale. "We've got to save them." Adam looked blank. His plunder of New Aquarium's back issues hadn't included anything about whales. Its editors had assumed that the readers were all for saving whales in the same way they assumed they breathed and walked upright. "There was this program about them," explained Wensleydale. "What have we got to save them for?" said Adam. He had confused visions of saving up whales until you had enough for a badge. Wensleydale paused and racked his memory. "Because they can sing, and they've got big brains. There's hardly any of them left. We don't need to kill them anyway, because they only make pet food and stuff." "If they're so clever," said Brian slowly, "what are they doing in the sea?" "Oh, I don't know," said Adam, looking thoughtful. "Swimming around all day, just opening their mouths and eating stuff. Sounds pretty clever to me." A squeal of brakes and a long drawn-out crunch interrupted him. They scrambled off the gate and ran up the lane to the crossroads, where a small car lay on its roof at the end of a long skid mark. A little further down the road was a hole. It looked as though the car had tried to avoid it. As they looked at it, a small oriental-looking head darted out of it. The them dragged the door open and pulled out the unconscious Newt. Visions of medals for heroic rescue thronged Adam's head. Practical considerations of first aid thronged around that of Wensleydale. "We shouldn't move him," he said, "because of broken bones. We ought to get someone." Adam cast around. There was a rooftop just visible in the trees down the road. It was Jasmine Cottage. And in Jasmine Cottage, Anathema Device was sitting in front of a table on which some bandages, aspirins, and assorted first aid items had been laid out for the past hour. Anathema looked at the clock. "We'll be coming around any moment now," she thought. He wasn't what she'd been expecting. More precisely, he wasn't what she'd been hoping for. She'd been hoping, rather self-consciously, for someone tall and dark and handsome. Newt was tall, but with a rolled-out thin look. While his hair was undoubtedly dark, it wasn't any sort of fashion accessory. It was just a lot of thin, black strands all growing together out of the top of his head. This was not Newt's fault. In his younger days, he would go every couple of months to the barber shop on the corner, clutching a photograph he'd have carefully torn from a magazine which showed someone with an impressively cool haircut grinning at the camera, and he'd show the picture to the barber and ask to be made to look like that, please, and the barber, who knew his job, would take one look and then give Newt the basic all-purpose short back and sides. After a year of this, Newt realised that he obviously didn't have the face that went with haircuts. The best Newt and Pulsifer could hope for after a haircut was shorter hair. It was the same with suits. The clothing hadn't been invented that would make him look suave and sophisticated and comfortable. These days he had learned to be satisfied with anything that would keep the rain off and give him somewhere to keep his change. And he wasn't handsome, Not even when he took off his glasses. Actually, less so when he took off his glasses, because then he tripped over things and wore bandages a lot. And she discovered when she took off his shoes to lay him on her bed, he wore odd socks. One blue one with a hole in its heel, and one grey one with holes around the toes. I suppose I'm meant to feel a wave of warm, tender female something or other about this, she thought. I just wish he'd washed them. So, tall, dark, but not handsome. She shrugged. Okay, 2 out of 3 isn't bad. The figure on the bed began to stir, and Anathema, who in the very nature of things always looked to the future, suppressed her disappointment and said, "How are we feeling now?" Newt opened his eyes. He was lying in a bedroom, and it wasn't his. He knew this instantly because of the ceiling. His bedroom ceiling still had the model aircraft hanging from bits of cotton. He never got around to taking them down. This ceiling had cracked plaster. Newt had never been in a woman's bedroom before, but he sensed that this was won largely by a combination of soft smells. There was a hint of talcum and lily of the valley, no rank suggestion of old t-shirts that had forgotten what the inside of a tumble-dryer looked like. He tried to lift his head up, groaned, and let it sink back onto the pillow. Pink, he couldn't help noticing. "You banged your head on the steering wheel," said the voice that had roused him. "Nothing broken, though. What happened?" Newt opened his eyes again. "Car all right?" he said. "Apparently." A little voice inside it keeps oh god. A little voice inside it keeps repeating, "Please to fasten seatbelt." "See," said Newt to an invisible audience. "They knew how to build them in those days. That plastic finish hardly takes a dent." He blinked at Anathema. "I swerved to avoid a Tibetan in the road," he said. "At least, I think I did. I think I've probably gone mad." The figure walked around and into his line of sight. It had dark hair and red lips and green eyes. It was almost certainly female. Newt tried not to stare. It said, "If you have, no one's going to notice." Then she smiled. "Do you know, I've never met a witchfinder before." Newt began. She held up his open wallet. "I had to look inside," she said. Newt felt extremely embarrassed, a not unusual state of affairs. Shadwell had given him an official witchfinder's warrant card, which among other things, charged all beadles, magistrates, bishops and bailiffs to give him free passage and as much dry kindling as he required. It was incredibly impressive, a masterpiece of calligraphy and probably quite old. He'd forgotten about it. "It's really just a hobby," he said wretchedly. "I'm really a... He wasn't going to say wages clerk. Not here. Not now. Not to a girl like this. A computer engineer," he lied. "Want to be. Want to be. In my heart, I'm a computer engineer. It's only the brain that's letting me down." "Excuse me, could I know—" "Anathema device," said Anathema. "I'm an occultist, but that's just a hobby. I'm really a witch." "Well done. You're half an hour late," she added, handing him a small sheet of cardboard. "So you'd better read this. It'll save a lot of time." Newt did in fact own a small home computer, despite his boyhood experiences. In fact, he'd owned several. He always knew which ones he'd owned. They were desktop equivalents of the Wasabi. They were the ones which, for example, dropped to half price just after he bought them, or were launched in a blaze of publicity and disappeared into obscurity within a year, or only worked at all if you stuck them in a fridge, or if by some fluke they were basically good machines, you'd always got the few that were sold with the early bug-infested version of the operating system. But he persevered because he believed. Adam also had a small computer. He used it for playing games, but never for very long. He'd load a game, watch it intently for a few minutes, and then proceed to play it until the high score counter ran out of zeros. When the other then wondered about this strange skill, Adam professed mild amazement that everyone didn't play games like this. All you have to do is learn how to play it, and it's just easy, he said. Quite a lot of the front parlour in Jasmine Cottage was taken up, Newt noticed, with a sinking feeling, with piles of newspapers. Clippings were stuck around the walls. Some of them had bits circled in red ink. He was mildly gratified to spot several he had cut out for Shadwell. Anathema owned very little in the way of furniture. The only thing she'd bothered to bring with her had been her clock, one of the family heirlooms. It wasn't a full-case grandfather clock, but a wall clock with a free swinging pendulum that E.A. Poe would cheerfully have strapped someone under. Newt kept finding his eye drawn to it. It was built by an ancestor of mine, said Anathema, putting the coffee cups down on the table. Sir Joshua Device. You may have heard of him. He invented the little rocking thing that made it possible to build accurate clocks cheaply. They named it after him. The Joshua? Said Newt guardedly. The Device. In the last half hour, Newt had heard some pretty unbelievable stuff and was close to believing it, but you have to draw the line somewhere. The Device is named after a real person, he said. Oh yes, fine old Lancashire name. From the French, I believe. You'll be telling me next you've never heard of Sir Humphrey Gadget. Oh now, come on. Who devised a gadget that made it possible to pump out flooded mine shafts? Or Pietro Gizmo? Or Cyrus T. Doodad, America's foremost black inventor? Thomas Edison said that the only other contemporary practical scientist he admired were Cyrus T. Doodad and Ella Reader Widget, and she looked at Newt's blank expression. I did my PhD on them, she said. The people who invented things so simple and universally useful that everyone forgot that they'd ever actually needed to be invented. Sugar? You normally have 2, said Anathema sweetly. Newt stared back at the card she handed him. She'd seemed to think it would explain everything. It didn't. It had a ruled line down the middle. On the left-hand side was a short piece of what seemed to be poetry in black ink. On the right-hand side, in red ink this time, were comments and annotations. The effect was as follows. When Orient's chariot inverted be, 4 wheels in the sky, a man with bruises be upon your bed, aching his head for willer fine, a man who testeth with a pin, yet his heart be clean, yet seed of mine own undoing, take the means of flame from him, but to make right certain, together ye shall be until the end that is to come. The note said, Japanese car, upturned, car smash, not serious injury, take in, willow fine, does that equal aspirin? Pin equals witchfinder, a good witchfinder, refers to Pulsifer, search for matches, etc. in the 1990s. Less than a day. Newt's hand went automatically to his pocket. His cigarette lighter had gone. What's this mean? He said hoarsely. Have you ever heard of Agnes Nutter? Said Anathema. No, said Newt, taking a desperate defence in sarcasm. You're going to tell me she invented mad people, I suppose? Another fine old Lancashire name, said Anathema coldly. If you don't believe me, read up on the witch trials of the early 17th century. She was an ancestress of mine. As a matter of fact, one of your ancestors burned her alive. Or tried to. Newt listened in fascinated horror to the story of Agnes Nutter's death. Thou shalt not commit adultery, Pulsifer, he said, when she'd finished. That sort of name was quite common in those days, said Anathema. Apparently there were 10 children, and they were a very religious family. There was covetousness Pulsifer, false witness Pulsifer. I think I understand, said Newt. Gosh, I thought Shadwell said he'd heard the name before. It must be in the army records, I suppose. I suppose if I'd gone around being called Adultery Pulsifer, I'd want to hurt as many people as possible. I think he just didn't like women very much. Thanks for taking it so well, said Newt. I mean, he must have been an ancestor. There aren't many Pulsifers. Maybe that's where I sort of met up with the Witchfind army? Could be fate, he said hopefully. She shook her head. No, she said, no such thing. Anyway, witch-finding isn't like it was in those days. I don't think old Shadwell's ever done more than kick over Doris Stokes' dustbins. Between you and me, Agnes was a bit of a difficult character, said Anathema vaguely. She had no middle gears. Newt waved the bit of paper. But what's it got to do with this? He said. She wrote it. Well, the original. It's number 3819 of the Nice and Accurate Prophecies of Agnes Nutter, first published 1655. Newt stared at the prophecy again. His mouth opened and shut. She knew I'd crashed my car? Yes. No. Probably not. It's hard to say. You see, Agnes was the worst prophet that's ever existed, because she was always right. That's why the book never sold. Okay. We've reached the 2-hour mark. I think that's a good place to leave it. We're at the start of the next chapter. We have now reached over the halfway point in the book. But yes, I think that is an excellent place to leave for the day. Everybody, thank you very much for coming in and joining us today. I'm very grateful for you all being here. I hope you've all had a chance to relax and de-stress. I know the middle of the week is always a stressful time. But yes, I'm very grateful for you all being here. But yeah, so guys, we should be back tomorrow. We haven't done a Thursday stream in a while, but we're going to do one this week. We should be back tomorrow. We're going to be playing a new game. I can't remember what I said I was going to play. I will have to check my schedule quickly to see what I am doing, because I am a professional and I definitely remember. Okay, let's have a quick look. If I go and have a look here, my schedule, what have I got on the books? Oh, I see, yes, we're doing Planet Crafter tomorrow. Yes, that was it. So yes, we're going to be playing some Planet Crafter. It looks very much like Subnautica, which was the first game I ever played on stream. Subnautica was my first streaming game, and yeah, this looks familiar. So I kind of want to give this a go just to see if it gives me that vibe again. But yeah, so anyway, guys, we'll be back again tomorrow, 8 PM GMT time. In the meantime, I hope you all have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world. I hope you all take care of yourselves. Thank you very much for joining me today. Make sure to hydrate, look after yourselves, eat plenty, make sure that you are looking after yourselves both physically and mentally, and I will catch you all very, very soon. Please get some rest, everybody, and yeah, I will speak to you all later. Goodbye.